Well, I don't know about you, but I've got some questions for John. A long list of questions for John Payton. Yeah. About his long and wondrous life. About what makes this man tick. And Joan says, when you find out, let me know. Yeah, what makes this man tick and what keeps this man ticking? Yeah? What keeps him ticking? So as we explore the whole question of questions today in worship, let's get ready to ask John questions during his party. Because this is going to be rich. It's going to be rich. Jesus asked a lot of questions. And I think just reading the questions is an inspiration for us to do the same. Yes? To ask his questions, which are still live ones after 2,000 years, open-ended questions for us still today, but also to ask our own questions of ourselves and of others. Because think of what happens when we ask questions. There's a list of questions. Actually, you can look it up online. I'll send it to you all. I'll send you the link. It's from the New York Times. It's called 36 Questions on the Way to Love. It's real cool. And it's 36 questions, and they're arranged in a way that starts out kind of generic and then gets more and more and more personal. Yeah? On the way to love, right? To intimacy. So you start with questions that don't demand a lot of intimacy, that don't expect much that way. And then, as you ask questions and get answers and get closer and go deeper, you get closer to love. Yeah? But all of it's love, right? Asking an honest, open-ended question is an act of love in itself, yes? Because it invites attention. It invites the questioner to pay attention to the answer. It invites the answer to pay attention to the question. It invites mutual, deep attention. And attention is love. So questions, these kinds of questions, not rhetorical questions, not leading questions, but truly open-ended questions, lead to love. They are acts of love. And to think of it that way, questions that have no right answers, that are not obvious, these lead us in the direction of love. They are acts of love. So what I'm going to do here is go through a list of 20 of Jesus's questions and just get you thinking about them, right? What are these questions? What do they inspire? Where do they take you? Where would they take others if you ask them of others as well? And I'm taking these questions out of context. Yes? Just a disclaimer here. Because some of them were in fact rhetorical questions. But I'm going to play with them here and just say, let's explore them as if they were not rhetorical, as if they were truly open-ended questions. And put his questions to work for us today, for us in our lives, as we live and as these questions might be meaningful to us. We just heard, Carla read one just now. And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? And why do you worry about clothing? Well, that's rhetorical, right? The answer is no, you can't. But if we take it out of context and just let it be a real question, an open-ended question, and just see where this goes, thinking about, what do when I worry about things, what do I expect is going to come of that? What good do I think it's going to do? Maybe it could do some good, or not. We're wired for worry. So there must be some utility in it, but how far does that go? Where does that utility end and problems start? So it's still a good question. And then another great one. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Good one, right? And again, that can be read rhetorically, like, why the heck are you worrying about the speck in your neighbor's eye, right? When you've got a big one in your own eye. There's that. But then you can go deeper with this too, right? Just why do you tune in to the speck in your neighbor's eye? And just why is it that you can't see the mess in your own eye? What's going on there? What is blocking your ability to see? Yeah, to really see. What's in the way? What's the nature of this log? What shape is it? What put it there? How can you get it out? And how can you let go of focusing on the speck in your neighbor's eye? Another one. Why are you afraid, O ye of little faith? Why are you afraid? This is a live, open-ended, not a simple question, right? Just why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? I think this is a question that every one of us ought to ask on a regular basis. Yeah? Because we're wired for fear, and fear gets in there. And sometimes it gets in there so deep we can't even see it. We don't even notice it. It's background radiation spewing out all the time, affecting our lives. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What am I afraid of? Really? Looking within with that honest, open-ended question, and then being ready to receive the answer in a loving, accepting, non-judgmental way. That is definitely an act of love, and perhaps a cure for this situation of fear. Jesus asked at one point he was about to do a miracle, right? And he asks the person that he's doing it for, do you believe that I am able to do this? Do you believe that I am able to do this? Interesting. Do you believe I'm able to do this? Is there something that you need to be able to believe that you can do? Right? Do you believe that you can do this? This thing that needs to be done, that you need to do. Do you believe you can do it? Or not? Maybe you don't. That's okay. But being upfront with yourself about whether or not you believe you can do it can really be liberating. You know, if you don't believe you can do it, but it needs to be done, then you go, oh, I can't do this, but maybe somebody else can. Maybe I need help to get this thing done that must be done, right? Or you look within and you go, actually, I thought maybe I couldn't do it, but actually, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could. Maybe I can. Yes, I can, if you can. But it's just a great question, isn't it? Do you believe that I am able to do this? And get honest about that. And see what empowerment bubbles up as a consequence of that question. This question is in the context of Jesus talking about John the Baptist. You know, a lot of Jewish people were going out to the Jordan, out to the boonies, the other side of the mountain, toward the desert, to go pay a visit to John the Baptist to get baptized and have a spiritual moment, right? So he's talking about John, but he asked this great question. He said, what did you go out into the wilderness to look at? Right? He's referring to John the Baptist. Who do you think this John the Baptist guy is? It's really the question he's asking. But then we step back from it and we go, when we go out into wilderness, what are we looking for? When we go out into nature, maybe the wilderness is your backyard. Maybe it's your condo common area. Whatever it is, when you go out into nature and you just feel this urge to go out into nature and into the wild, why do you do that? What are you doing when you go out there? What are you looking for? What impelled you to do that? What's underlying this urge you have to get out into nature? And what happens to you when you go out into the wilderness? What do you experience? Just stepping back from, a lot of us have this urge, I certainly do, but to examine the urge to go out into nature, to examine the urge itself, then can open us up to a deeper experience of the wilderness, a deeper appreciation of nature. And you begin to actually see more and experience more out there by asking this question. Another question taken out of context. Who is my mother? Who are my brothers? Yeah. So the context is that his family has come to talk to him, but he's saying, you, my disciples, you're ultimately my family. Yeah? Who is my brother? Who is my mother? And it just invites us to ask the question of who matters to us? Who in our lives matters to us? And why? And to whom do we matter? And what kind of relationship do we want to have with these folks that matter to us and that we matter to? What's the nature of our relationships, our most deep and close relationships? We take each other for granted very often. You take your family members for granted until they're not there, and then it's like, whoa, I should not have taken that person for granted. So it's an opportunity to really look at, it's a question that just invites us to really look at our closest relationships, most important relationships. What change needs to happen in those relationships to make them healthy and good and honest and real? Another question he asked, how many loaves of bread do you have? He asks when he's just about to feed the 5,000 with just a few loaves and fishes. How many loaves do you have? It's like, okay. It's like, how much money do I have in the bank? What resources do I have? What's at my disposal to put to work for the situation I'm in? Yeah? Good question. How many loaves do you have? How are you supplied right now, each of us here, to do the work that we know we need to do? Do we have what we need to do what we need to do? Are we ready? Are we prepared? And what do we need to do to get prepared if we're not? How many loaves do you have? Time to take stock of that. More questions. This one I love. But who do you say that I am? Right? People were talking about who Jesus was. This person said he's a rabbi. This other person says he's God. Another person saying he's our leader and teacher. But who do you say that I am? And then another question he asked, related. He asked when he was driving demons out of people, he would ask them, what's your name? Yeah, really interesting. He meets the Gerasene man who was out of control and wild. And the first question he asks him when he encounters this man possessed of a demon, well, a legion of demons in this case, says, what's your name? And his answer was Legion. The Roman legion? Hello. By the way, that was a political act he did there. You think religion and politics don't mix? Whoops. So what Jesus did is there was a legion of demons in this guy. The Roman legion, hello, there's that obvious connection. Occupying force in the country. And so Jesus drives out the legion of demons into a herd of pigs, which then run off a cliff and die. Right? What are pigs doing in Israel? In a country where people do not eat pork. Feeding the Roman legion. They were food for the Roman legion. So when he drove them off the cliff, hello, politics. So there it is. Making a statement about political occupation of Palestine at the time. But this is a great question, right? What is your name? Naming is an act of power. Claiming a name and naming is power over yourself and others. How do you use that power of naming? How do you identify yourself? There's power in that. Claiming your name, claiming your identity, claiming your personhood, or letting go of a name that no longer fits you anymore. In the case of the man who called himself Legion, it was time for a new name, right? And there are times when we need to be named in a new way, in a different way. So paying attention to that and inviting others to experience that choice in that moment. Oh, there's lots more here. I don't have time to get through all of them. There's another one I'll throw in out of the 20. The context for this is Jesus has healed a man of blindness, and he asks, "Can you see anything? Can you see anything?" Well, that's a question we all ought to be asking ourselves. Our eyes are open, but can we see? It's another question he asks later on. You have eyes, but do they see? Another of Jesus' questions. What are we missing, even when our eyes are open? Can we see what's in front of us? Very often, we can't. Right? Much of what we see is what we expect to see. It's what we already saw, which then ingrains in us. Then we just keep seeing the things we've seen before, and then we miss the things we never noticed before. So that is a powerful question to ask ourselves and others. Can you see anything? And the last one I'll point out of this 20 is a powerful one. Do you want to be made well? Jesus would ask that of the people who came to him for healing. It's like, well, hello, you're like a miracle worker and I'm sick, so, what else? Yeah, sure. Why are you even asking, right? But he would ask, so, do you want to be made well? Right? Because there's great power in asking for that, right? In asking that question and answering that question. It's because very often people get so accustomed to not being well that they lose the desire to be well, or even the consciousness that they could be well. Yes? We got some healers in the group nodding. This happens. So to activate our willpower and our energy for healing, to cooperate with the doctors and the healers and the physical therapists and the speech pathologists and everybody else that can help us, the psychiatrists and the psychologists, to activate their usefulness, we have to have an activation of our own willpower and desire for healing and wholeness. And Jesus got that, and that's why he would ask this seemingly obvious question, almost a rhetorical question, but it's an honest question that we need to ask ourselves and each other. So I commend to you the questions of Jesus. I commend to you the 36 questions on the way to love. And And other questions, really good questions that you can be asking yourselves and others. I'll send you a list of great questions you can ask, and would love to hear how you and others answer them and what change these questions inspire in your lives. Amen. Remember, think of what you want to ask John. Today's the day.